All right, so hello everyone. Today we have a student from the University of Southern California. His name is Justin. And Justin, can you actually go ahead and please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Justin Garrett. My major is health and human sciences. And the reason I decided to go into that is kind of an interesting one. Back in high school, I can't name a specific moment when, but I know near the back half, like junior, senior year, I began to get interested in health and medicine. And I took an anatomy class, anatomy and physiology, and that was probably the coolest class I took. Probably definitely in my senior year, maybe out of all of my high school. But it was really cool because we had this. There was a college downtown, and they gave us permission to go down and use their facility, and they had a cadaver. And quick funny story,
Hmm.
our teacher, when before we took the class, she was like, "Oh yeah, we get to play with the cadaver. We get to use all the other little instruments and toys that they have down there." And this, she would say that like for weeks, and I would sit there like, "Oh, a cadaver? What's a cadaver?" I didn't know until the day we went in, and the teacher was like, or the professor, he said, "Yeah, we get to use a real cadaver, a dead body." And I was like, "A dead body?" I had no clue what it was, so I was like in the biggest shock of my life. But it was really the coolest thing, and going in there and getting to not play with it, but it was really one of the coolest things that I got to do. And from then on, I was like, I want to be in the medical industry. Um, and what made me decide to go to the University of Southern California, this might sound a little cliche, but so I have a long history of people that graduated from USC. So I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, but my sister, she just graduated class of 2020 from SC. My parents both graduated from SC. My uncle, my aunt, I have a cousin that's going there now. She's going to be a senior. And then even my grandfather, he went to SC at some point, and I think that might be it. But uh, well, really growing up, I kind of knew. I was like, I want to be a Trojan. I want that Trojan blood, and it was just one of those things that I felt in my heart. I was like, I feel like I'm meant to be a Trojan, but you never really know until you go and you visit different schools and you find which one is the best fit for you. And I made a bunch of different college visits from. Um, it was really when my sister was going to visit colleges, that was really like my college visits too. But when I went to USC, that one was the one that actually felt like home to me. Um, Out of all I can't name all of them I went to, but there were definitely a handful of ones that I went to. And the University of Southern California, as soon as I got there, the atmosphere, the people, the attitude, I just knew it. From then on, I was like, this is where I want to go to school. So I was fortunate enough to be accepted, and now, yeah, attend the University of Southern California. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, no, that was definitely great. And, I like how you mentioned that, USC does have a huge thing, with legacy and like, having a lot of people. And when they say that we have a Trojan family, like they really mean that we have that
yeah,
Trojan family. Yeah, like we have those connections.
yeah,
And, literally with you, you're literally a Trojan family, like your entire, yeah, you were
yeah,
literally a Trojan. Yeah.
exactly.
And so, yeah, I know. I definitely think that for those that have parents who actually attended university from like, those in the United States, definitely there's a lot of influence coming in from your family members. And like you mentioned, your sister just graduated. So obviously, congratulations to her. Um, but yeah, definitely there's a lot of
Thank you.
things going on with it. Yeah, for sure. So I guess actually something I want to dive in really fast, just touching up again with when you mentioned going into health and human sciences, being interested in medicine because of your whole high school story, like the cadaver. I really got that the cadaver message
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah.
So so far being in college and having taken some of those science courses, what do you like about it? Like, what have you noticed? Like, or is there any class that really stands your interest even more when you were here at USC?
I would say the best part about the science classes, in my opinion, are the labs. The hands-on stuff, easily my favorite. Probably for most people, I would assume, but the lecture stuff, like while it is very important and you do need it, I feel like lab is the time. It's usually about the time period is maybe 3 hours, to where you just get to go in, get to interact with your lab instructor, your TA, and and probably my favorite memory that I've had so far was it was my first semester, and it was for bio. I think it was 120. I think that was the course, and one of the units we did, we got to cut open a shark and a frog. And I remember going in, and that day our lab instructor was like, "Okay, does anybody want to cut open the shark?" And I was scared because I was a freshman and I didn't want to like be that guy. Because everyone knows there's always that one guy who's
Yeah.
like, "All right, hey, I'll do it." But I was really shy to do that, and I didn't want people to think that, I don't know, that I had a big head or I was a narcissist or whatever. But since no one raised their hand, I was kind of like, I mean, I'll do it. And since I had the confidence with senior year stuff with the cadaver, I was like, shark shouldn't be that hard. And it wasn't too bad, and it was really fun. And so the lab instructor said, "All right, so now we have one person to do the shark. Who's gonna do the frog?" And I was like, "I'll do the frog too, man. I mean, I'll gladly do it." But he was like, "No, no, no. We need someone else to do the frog, just because it needs to be fair. If anyone else wants to do it." But that was probably my favorite experience throughout the science classes thus far. Uh, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely love that whole explanation. And I think, when people tell, when you tell people that, go to college and study something you're passionate about, it's definitely
Hmm.
reflected in how you describe that story. The fact that you can like vividly remember certain words and events and retell that story. I think that's, that really shows that that's where the passion for learning or passion for going into a specific field really comes from. So yeah, I definitely appreciated, the entire backstory with that. And I think it's great. I think it really does describe, why you're so interested in health and medicine. So that's great. Now, I guess at this time, just to take a little bit of a pause on just college right now, let's rewind a few years back
Yeah.
to when you were a senior in high school,
Okay.
applying into college. So I guess first and foremost, if you could briefly summarize the college application process for you, how would you describe that?
So I'm gonna be honest. Even though I do remember like a lot with all this story stuff, for me the college application process, a lot of it was a blur. All I remember was I think I started junior year. I don't remember. I don't even remember when I took the ACT and like PSAT and everything, but I had all I remember was I know I had above average scores, but I wasn't like top tier genius level. But what you want to do with that is definitely study up, and if you can get practice with that, because I would say it is pretty important. But with the application process, I also knew, since going in I wanted to be a Trojan, that I only applied to 3 colleges. One was my backup. One was a fail safe, that if I don't get into the 2 colleges I want to, then this will be my last resort. And then 2 were kind of like the go get it. It's out there, prestigious colleges. And even I just knew I didn't really even care about that other college. If I wanted to, if I was able to, I would have just applied to USC, because I
Uh,
knew for a fact I'm like USC, USC, USC all the way. But I really only remember writing essays for that. I remember getting a prompt, and then brainstorming, and then getting it all down, revising it, reviewing it, and sending it in. And honestly, that's as much as I remember. But everything in between there was when everyone else started getting accepted into colleges. All my friends, my best friends in a group chat, um, they would say, oh, I got deferred, or I got rejected, or I got accepted into all of their whatever favorite colleges or whichever ones they had interest in. And I was just sitting there. I hadn't heard back from any colleges yet. I was like, yo, what is going on? I was getting so anxious and nervous. Um, and there was so much just like build up inside of me. And then before I get to when everything finally happened, I'm going to see if I can touch a little bit more on the actual application process. But I kid you not, most of that just completely flew
Yeah.
out of my mind. But I know my sister, when she did it, she applied to a lot more colleges than I did. And to be honest, I was surprised she even wanted to go to USC. She didn't express any interest. So the day she got in, I was like, oh, wow. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to go. It's like, I had no clue you wanted to go. But hey, congratulations. But yeah, really all I can remember from that is stressing over tests. But I feel like even though they are important, I probably shouldn't have put as much stress on myself as I did. And that's one very important thing that
Mhm.
people, that I think teenagers and young adults should learn. Even though it's more of like a hindsight type thing. But like one of my friends now, he said, we had a talk in the driveway the other day, and he said something about basically now when I look back in the past, everything in high school I did pretty much doesn't really even matter. Not in comparison to this, but just in the overall grand scheme of things. But I would say that's wrong in the sense of if you want to get into the college you want to, if you want to get into a good college, you need to do well in high school. You need to participate in certain activities um, that will look good on an application or on a resume. And yeah, you should definitely get involved. And some colleges, they also don't look at necessarily how good your grades are. It's if, let's say, you come in freshman, sophomore, you do average or maybe a little bit below average, but if you're persistent and they see your grades go up, and by the end of your career, high school career, you're like top of your class or whatever. And also they want to see maybe not how many things you're involved in, but how involved are you in one thing. So for example, with me, um, in high school, I kind of consider that my, not my music career, but I was really, really involved in like the arts and marching band, jazz band, musicals, and everything. But I also did things like National Honor Society, and I volunteered, things like that. But I didn't do it as much as my friends, solely because of how much time uh, band required from me. But if you show that you're involved in a certain activity, then that's also something colleges look for. Not how many things, it's just how, yeah, involved were you in that one thing. But I digress. So I'm going to kind of go back to the day I finally figured out uh, that I got into USC. And at that point, I pretty much lost all hope. Not all hope, but I just gave up on every day I came every day I came home, and I was like, is my package here yet? Is this here yet? Is it here yet? Is it here? I gave up. I was like, okay, USC, like they can contact me whenever. I'm done at this point. I'm not as excited. Whenever you send the package, you send the package or a letter, whatever it is. But I volunteered that day, and coming home, uh, um, I remember I parked outside and I went through the front door and I saw a package. I got so excited. When I tell you this was easily the most exciting point in my life so far. Well, definitely that day was like the peak that I had reached, and I was like so happy, and like all these emotions were running through me. And I came through the door, and then my mom turned on the fight song on the TV, and she was playing it. I was like dancing around, and I had all this like other Trojan stuff, and I put that on, and then I had my acceptance letter, and then I posed. I had a picture with it, and then that was my um, what is it? That was my one reason to create, not one reason to create Instagram. I was thinking about doing it, but I was like, you know what? This gives me a reason to finally create one, and this will be my first post. Um, but I remember, I think it came in March. Uh, I'm fairly certain my package came probably towards the end or middle of March. But yeah, it was crazy. But when I finally found out that I was accepted, all of the anxiety or the stress, nervousness, it all just passed, went away, and I felt like I could finally take that deep breath, like just relax.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I actually really love that entire story, like the whole background and all the advice you gave. It's like, no, you can see, like I mentioned before, like when you're super passionate about a school and you really care about it, like those emotions show. And I remember the day I got my package from USC too. I was like, I don't even say maybe I was as the peak as maybe how you were feeling, but definitely that
Yeah,
feeling of finally getting that acceptance letter. Or even if you get deferred or waitlist, you always know that you learned something from those lessons. So
yeah,
regardless, you're always taking some experience. But I really love that story of like the whole entire thing. And I guess if you could just briefly just answer this, just like as a short response. Um, a lot of people know that, like we mentioned, USC has a very tight Trojan family connection. Would you
hmm
say having family members that attended USC and that legacy probably might have helped you during the admission process, like in your opinion?
yeah. I would say I don't know how much. Um, I don't know how much exactly everything ties in like to the deep roots of everything, but I would say legacy does help, because every time I talk to my friends too, when I was waiting, they would say, oh dude, your legacy, like you have a good chance of getting it, like legacy. I was like, yeah, legacy, like that was one thing I kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't a trophy, but it was that extra push that I feel like also kind of helped me out with that too. But this is kind of going along the lines of that, but with legacy and things like that, you might know. So, for example, my mom knows someone that works at USC right now. I don't know exactly what she does. I forget. But she introduced us to her. Yeah, but it's one of those things where if I need something, not necessarily like academic wise or like it's not one of those things where if I said, "Hey, get me into the first round of choosing a dorm," right? Yeah, it's not like that.
Yeah.
But if
Mhm.
I need help with something, or this person could just show me or introduce me to someone else, and I'll get into networking later, I guess. But the more people you know, and if they know this person that knows you, it's one of those also support systems, I guess, that'll help you out with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think something that's USC is really known for is that whole network and that connections. Like we mentioned, we have the Trojan family, but just knowing someone and the USC, the whole networking system they have is pretty incredible. Like you're always gonna know someone sometime in the future. You see another USC person, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, fight on, and you're always gonna talk with them. So yeah, that's definitely something for sure. And I guess that would probably wrap up everything for the college application part. So I want to talk a little bit more, back going to college again. Um, a little bit away from the academics this time because I feel like you actually passionately covered that already. But in the extracurriculars, you actually mentioned to me that you were a part of USC athletics, and I want you to, hopefully kind of explain your story with going into athletics and all that stuff.
Yeah, man. So my cousin, she filmed for the football team, and I was super jealous. I was like, "Yo, you have a job with the football team?" It's like, "Oh man, I need a job with the football team. Yo, get me in there." Because like growing up, dude, let me tell you, I was like, I mean, everybody that's a USC fan, like they're also super passionate about USC athletics and sports and football, let alone. But um, going into my freshman year, it's not one of those things where I could have just gone in to football and done all of that. So pretty much what you had to do was once you're a freshman, you try out as a freshman, and if you make the cut, I guess, then once you're a sophomore, uh, then you work that season and going forward. But what I did was coming in with all these extracurriculars. At first, like I was pretty eager, I guess, and I wanted to see what was out there. And the things that caught my eye were Trojan Barbell Club, uh, what else? What else? Brothers Breaking Bread, and Super Smash Bros. Club. So I attended. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man. I attended. I think I went to only two Smash Bros. Events, but pretty much I stopped going to that because like you had to pay for tournaments. I was like, I'm not about to pay $5 every week, but and you're not required to go every week or anything. But I was just like, you know what, I'm not paying $5. But and then Brothers Breaking Bread, I went to my first semester quite a bit, and I'll get into that just really quick a little bit. It's basically a group of African American men, and we talk about just the different issues in the Black community, whether it's like economics, politics, social issues, and whatever. And we have a pretty strong, I guess, family within the Trojan family with that and everything. And if any African American boys listening to this and you go to USC, definitely check it out. But and then Trojan Barbell Club, I probably attended that the most because I was trying to get gains. My first semester of high school, I was trying to learn the ways, man. I was like, how do I get strong in college? But it was really great, especially I feel like what makes it really good organization is the people that run it. So when I went in to Barbell Club, the captain and the president. So the president was James, and the captain was Young. They were the coolest and nicest people that you could ask for, and they knew everybody's name. They talked to everybody. They helped you out. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they made you feel like you were part of the team. And they had meets and things like that, but you were never pressured to compete in a meet. Like me and my friend, we always attended lift sessions, but we never actually went to any of the meets and competed in the lifts. But I that was about, I don't know, like $75 for a semester to join, but I was pretty persistent with that, so I visited probably twice a week. But then, my second semester, that's when I think I came back and over winter break, I was probably getting a haircut, and I was talking to my barber, and he used to play football, and he was like, "Yeah, man, you should really go try to be an equipment manager for the team." I was like, well, "What is that?" And he gave me a brief rundown explanation. He was like, "Oh, well, you work with them during practice, you talk to the coaches, see what they need, you set up, you take down, you help them with like the helmets and jerseys and everything." I was like, "Oh yeah, sounds pretty good." So my friend, and she knew I was, I guess, yeah, passionate about USC football. So when she saw a Facebook post about it, she sent it over to me, and it said, "Managers wanted tryouts this day, this week." And so I emailed the guys, the head managers, and I went in and I had an interview process with them. And then I showed them my schedule and went in and volunteer. The first week, I guess you're kind of like volunteering just to see. They want to know who takes initiative and everything, and who puts forth the most effort, volunteering their time. And then by the time actual practices started, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty rough, I guess. Maybe the first few practices, just because be tired afterwards, running around, not used to all of that, and then the heat. But it began to become pretty fun. Sorry, can you hear?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, where was I? But yeah, and then I guess by the time I got accepted onto the team, um, it was we're gonna call you back in July. You have to come in early, um, and then we start summer camp. Then after summer camp, we get the ball rolling. School starts, and then the season. And pretty much with that, it's a great job. If you do more than one season, so if you're a returner, you get, I think, a quarter scholarship. And one of the best parts about the job is how much gear you get. You get so much free gear. When I like packing up from my dorm this year, I had so many new pants, so many new shirts, hats. I never wore hats before this. Now I have so many hats. I have a reason to wear hats, and I had so much, so much gear. It's so cool, and you get to be down on the field during the games. Um, you make friends with the players. It's a great experience, and you kind of get to see the ins and outs of like USC athletics and especially football in general. And sometimes old USC players pop in and it'll be like, oh snap, Mark Sanchez, or oh snap, Matt Leinart. So yeah, so it's a really
Mhm.
cool job.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously that was great. I mean, obviously, it was great bringing you here because I know you're super passionate about everything you're doing, and it's great to hear all that passion, especially reflected in, how much you enjoy being, a manager for the football team, or even like you mentioned, having a like with that African American club that you have that allows you to bring you back to like culture and kind of that. And yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, I would recommend to anyone listening to this, definitely join into those culture clubs. It's definitely nice to
yeah,
have something to go back to
definitely,
your roots. Yeah. And I guess,
definitely.
just to kind of like wrap up this entire video. So I guess really quickly, if you could give advice to high school students, whether that be about college or just life in general, so what would you tell them?
Yeah, so for college, since I guess I'm not that far into life yet, um, I would say choose the school that best fits you, or the school that you feel best is the best fit for you. Um, and once you join the school, look for the clubs and organizations that cater to your interests, maybe your wants and needs, like those different cultural clubs. You can establish a tight community, people you can go to that know your problems, etc. And definitely don't try too hard to, like, once you're in college, to not be yourself just to impress others. Like my first year, um, I the floor I was living on, um, at first, because back here, like in high school, I'd love to make friends with everybody, and so I come out here thinking it's going to be the same thing, but then I realize not everybody is as friendly, and not everybody's going to look out for you or your best interest. So you just have to look for the people, and not necessarily, you don't have to actively look out. They'll draw themselves toward you too when you realize you have similarities. Um, but having that, maybe like a tight circle or people that share those common traits as you. Um, like now, my circle in college, it's a lot smaller than what it was in high school, but I make sure um, my friends are. Uh, sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, have those the people that look out for your best interest, and it's not going to be everybody. And you learn that. You learn the people that are there for you and that aren't there for you. But just be mature enough to make the decisions that are best for you. Don't be peer pressured into anything. Just live your life. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah, and obviously, definitely you have a lot of great advice. I mean, it's just everything in general. like I mentioned, we've talked about this so many times. Just that passion, you know, you really have that passion to really learn and to explore your options in college. And I think that's the great thing about your entire story. But I mean, you know, just overall, we want to thank you so much for coming on and obviously taking the time to speak with us in this video. And, you know, obviously for everyone watching, there's obviously a lot of great information that you can take from Justin. So yeah, we hope that you guys learn a lot. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. Fight on.
Right on.